Hi, I'm Bob Larson. Millions around the world know me as the real exorcist. I've battled demons for 5 decades. I'm going to share with you what I've learned about how demons and the devil seek to kill, steal, and destroy. I have an important question. Is a witch stalking you? Are you the victim of spiritual mind control from a deceptive spiritual figure from the past or present? I have some very stern warnings about spiritual stalking and the constructive advice on how to escape witchcraft that is put on you generationally or it's put on you in the present. I'm going to explain to you the technical definition of witchcraft and the practical application of witchcraft as it takes place in the lives of otherwise very ordinary people. I'm going to explain how witchcraft from the past, from ancestors, follows the bloodline to attack unsuspecting individuals today. I'll also show how cult leaders and conflicted pastors can open up their congregates to the attack of witchcraft. Your own pastor may be stalking you with witchcraft. A former lover may be stalking you with witchcraft. A psychic or medium that you went to for a reading or advice may be stalking you with witchcraft. I'm about to tell you some things in all likelihood that no one's ever told you before. The warning that I'm about to give could change your life spiritually and save you a great deal of suffering. Does it feel like Satan has the upper hand in your life? Do you have frequent illnesses, mental confusion, financial struggles, no matter how much you pray? I want to help you with the world's most comprehensive online study of spiritual warfare. 60 courses, 50 hours of teaching, never before presented. Go to BobLarsonUniversity.org. We'll help you prepare for ministry and prepare for life. As always, I want to remind you, if you're watching on YouTube, like and share. Liking helps us with YouTube. Sharing helps somebody that you care about to see the same information that you are going to be listening to and watching and participating in. And as always, remember, we are a donation-supported ministry. That's it. There are other ministries out there on YouTube that are not donor-supported. We depend on your faithful tithes, offerings, and very special gifts. And as always, you can donate in 2 ways: by going to boblarson.org, our website, and clicking on the donate button, or you can just text the word GIVE to 833-361-4711 as an expression of your appreciation for this ministry, its longevity, its dedication and commitment to spiritual excellence and information and education and inspiration to the body of Christ and you in particular. So if that means something to you, please help us. Do you ever feel like you're being stalked by witches? I actually have people come to me all the time with that claim. And honestly, some of it's clearly paranoia. People have emotional problems. Sometimes they want to shift the blame to unknown individuals or people that they believe are harassing them. However, I take each case seriously. I never know for certain whether it's fact or fiction. And sometimes we have to go beyond present time and space to history and bloodlines to find out if witches are harassing an individual. I know this: what witches have done in the past may be affecting the present if they curse the bloodline. There's another possibility. You may have someone in your family in the past or the present involved in witchcraft. This is especially common when the person I'm ministering to is from another country where witchcraft is openly practiced. Take, for example, Africa. There, witchcraft is part of traditional belief systems. So to further understand this, we need to be more careful when we define what we mean by witchcraft and what constitutes witchcraft activity by means of specific witchcraft curses. I want to be very plain. We're not looking for a scapegoat for all the problems that an individual has, but we want to target where witchcraft in the present or the past is the source of very real harm to a present-day person. It is possible that some things you suffer may be the result of someone in the present who put a curse on you, especially if that individual is a psychic, energy healer, someone who practices some form of the occult. You engaged their services. You went to them. You paid them. You got a reading, whatever. But this also applies to any kind of New Age leader or Eastern religious guru who has cursed those who depart from his teachings and his cult. And I've heard of cases of people being stalked by this kind of witchcraft many, many times. In a little bit, we'll talk more about how you deal with that. There are many factors to consider regarding whether or not you are being stalked by a witch, and we're going to break this down piece by piece so that you can take effective prayer action if it's necessary. Basically, somewhere between paranoid speculation and occult fact, there may be real dangers to you and those you love. I'm going to help you understand how to know if a witch is stalking you and give you very clear, specific instructions on exactly what to do about it. Let's define witchcraft. To adequately discuss witchcraft, we need to look at it in a very narrow sense and also in a broad sense. This includes considering historical and cultural perspectives. Far too many Christians simplistically look at witchcraft as some form of evil, monolithic practice without understanding its variations. A lot of them also mistakenly identified it with Satanism. In fact, Satanism and witchcraft are very different. I'm not going to get into that now, but we do want to determine if witches are stalking you. So let's first take a look at what we mean by a witch. Witchcraft can be understood through both a spiritual and a cultural lens, often varying significantly, depending on the geographical location of a culture and the dominant religious belief system of that society. In other places, my books, my videos, and so on, I've clearly explained in detail the exegesis of the biblical understanding of witchcraft. So that's not my purpose here. I'm not going to quote a lot of scriptures here. I'm going to assume that most of you do have some kind of theological understanding of what witchcraft is according to the scriptures, how it is forbidden, how it is condemned throughout the Old Testament and the New, and the dangers that it represents. My warning here is about the practical assessment of witchcraft harassment. So from a spiritual standpoint, witchcraft encompasses the invoking of spirits, demons, or goddess deities through spells and rituals. These demonic beings may be intentionally called forth for the purposes of information, for guidance, for appeasement. In our modern world, the definition of witchcraft encompasses the use of a lot of things. Universal energies, the forces of the cosmos, including the earth and other heavenly bodies. The most powerful and popular forms of witchcraft today center on what the Bible calls divination. That's especially defined in Deuteronomy 18. It's seeking to know the unknown by means other than Jehovah God. This can include a lot of things like scrying, astrology, tarot cards, or other forms of fortune telling. Witches also use objects, crystals, potions, charms, amulets, even herbs for protection for the supplicant. From a cultural perspective, witchcraft practices vary according to different geographical designations. Western culture traces most witchcraft to European civilizations. This often includes the Druids of ancient Gaul and what we now know as the United Kingdom, particularly the Druids of Ireland. Indigenous practices are generally pursued by what we call shamanism. That's a kind of witch doctor, some form of powerful religious figure who guides that particular society. Today, witchcraft can include what's known as Wicca, W-I-C-C-A. The wise ones, that's the way they define it. And of course, neo-paganism, which is basically the same thing. Witchcraft in our modern world has undergone a public relations makeover, so the witches can be seen more positively as wise ones, wise people, bringing hope to the confused and searching. The idea of witchcraft being malevolent has been expunged from society through the efforts of Walt Disney. The witchcraft-friendly television show started out many years ago with Bewitched. In a much broader sense, witchcraft doesn't necessarily have to involve specific covens or groups, what I call cult witchcraft. Witchcraft can be just an approach to life based on paganism, out of a broader belief system of unseen forces influencing one's future and the lives around them. Even in the absence of rituals, the attitude of a person that roughly constitutes the nature of witchcraft can be seen as individual witchery. You don't have to actually be part of an organized group and attend certain ceremonies over a boiling cauldron out in the woods at night with an athame sword, a pentagram, and a sacred circle. No. Witchcraft can simply mean using mind control or the projection of your thoughts in the form of a curse. It's born out of revenge or jealousy. That, too, is witchcraft. In most cases, if someone is being stalked by a witch, the victim is the target of these kinds of very negative emotions. Many of you have seen me deal with genetically inherited what I call soul parts of an ancestor who wished some kind of ill on descendants. In a situation like this, demons stalk successive generations with witchcraft, seeking to bring all sorts of harm. If a witch is stalking you, there are several ways in which that happens. Witchcraft stalking generally takes one of these two forms: generational stalking or current stalking. Let's talk first about generational stalking. I've alluded to that just a little bit, but let me be more specific. Generational stalking is the ill will or behavior of an ancestor extended across the generations. In other words, they deliberately wanted to express their negativity, or they lived a very sinful, godless life. Whatever the case, that influence affects the progeny. It could be an evil person within your knowledge of generational history, somebody you know about, usually into a third or fourth generations. Or it could go back many decades, hundreds of years to evil intentions, witchcraft. Perhaps the ancestor who projected witchcraft forward upon the generations knew what they were doing. They might have even performed rituals to accomplish their purpose. I run into that all the time. On the other hand, they may have just been implacably evil, and the nature of their godlessness became a form of witchcraft. And now witchcraft caused future generations to be spiritually hindered. The demons are aware of every individual's ancestral history, and they know how to attach witchcraft curses to evil in the past. So in that sense, generational stalking is the result of a forebear who practiced witchcraft as a specific art, or, as I just said, their deeds represented the intentions of witchcraft. Either way, you are being stalked by evil spirits who know this generational history, and they are determined to repeat the past evil in your generation. Let's look at current stalking. Current stalking takes place when someone obsessed with you or wanting to put thoughts of revenge upon you stalks you in a mental or spiritual way. This very often happens with people who have belonged to cults. When they try to get out of the cult, the organization or the leader of the cult, sometimes in collusion with various cohorts within the cult, they send what they believe to be evil energy against the person trying to get away. And there are some cults who do this, namely groups like Scientology. That's been well documented. This spiritual stalking is a form of witchcraft. It may include very specific ways of harassing the person or the projection of mind control. I, again, deal with this frequently, especially when people have followed a certain popular New Age figure, whoever that may be, an energy healer, an Eastern guru, or exponent of universal consciousness. In fact, in some cases, I've done multiple exorcisms on the victim of witchcraft stalking after they've left a demonic belief system. They suffer constantly from the witchcraft which is being thrown at them in the here and now from an evil religious figure who could not stand the idea of losing an acolyte. If you have left a demonic belief system, or at one time engaged a psychic or medium, especially financially, and then you turned your back on them, beware. They may be coming after you with witchcraft stalking. And a word of caution. This is going to be controversial. Hang on. I've known of pastors, they had congregants leave them. And then what the pastor spoke over that individual was the essence of a witchcraft curse. They have told them that if you ever leave this ministry, if you stop supporting this ministry, if you turn against us, if you leave for any reason, get out from under our spiritual covering, all kinds of evil things are going to come upon you. In fact, one time, I dealt with the soul part of a pastor. I will not name him. He's popular. You would know his name if you're an evangelical Christian. He's a very overbearing individual. This individual who has a huge ministry told somebody that if they left, they would be cursed. In so many words. Well, this individual came to me. They didn't know anything about mind control soul parts, and a part of this pastor spoke out of the body of this person. You can't make this up. Well, that's unbiblical. We know that. But it's also witchcraft. So if you broke away from some kind of religious cult figure, even a Christian one, even a powerful Christian personality, part of them may follow you, tormenting your mind. There are so many stories that I could tell you, case studies, by the hundreds, probably the thousands, of people who have been victimized by this kind of stalking witchcraft. I had one just a few days ago. An individual came to me for deliverance, highly demonized. And one of the ways that demons had gotten into this person was through a religious New Age cult they'd become involved in. Let's just call the guy Tony. The person that I ministered to found this individual on the internet. Very charismatic individual who talked a lot about love and light and universal energy. Talked about the healing power of angels and how they could clear a person's life and their mind of all types of bad, negative spiritual energy. The person I was ministering to had mentioned this in the process of the intake and the debriefing about their life. But when we actually got into the exorcism, there were incredible manifestations, very, very powerful and very, very violent. Well, we weren't getting anywhere. We were not able to cast out this main spirit, which called itself the beast and patterned itself after Revelation 13. Now keep in mind, she'd been involved with this medium we're calling Tony. Turns out that when she left him and realized he was bad, and by the way, this is a backslidden Christian who is doing this woman. He stalked her with mind control, witchcraft, with sexual intentions, to the point that she eventually had to threaten a restraining order to get him to stop. But he didn't just stop with the physicality of what he was doing. He got inside her mind through what she had done, formed a soul tie with her because of all of that. And when she left him, he stayed there. I've often noted in doing deliverance, and this is something that most people in deliverance don't understand, that when you're blocked, when you're stopped, you know a person has a demon. Maybe even the demons have manifested and you can't get anywhere with them. There's something there that won't let you go forward. And in this particular case, this something was the soul part of Tony. And sometimes there is a soul part like this. Like I said, from a cult leader or somebody who's doing witchcraft stalking, and it gets in the way. You see, you can tell a demon what to do with absolute authority, but you can't tell the human will what to do. You can tell another individual what they absolutely have to do and make them do it. Except you can attempt to do it by mind control. Well, here was the individual, here was the demon, right in the middle, stopping everything was Tony. And Tony spoke. Now, this is a phenomenon that I've described in several of my books, like Dealing with Demons. And on X Dunamis, our streaming platform, we have videos demonstrating this. It's not a strange thing. I can't explain it now. I don't have the time. I've explained it before. Go to our literature, see what I have to say. But when this demon came forth, it was nasty. It said a lot. One of the things that this demon, this form of the person, assuming a demonic intention, said was this, of this woman. She was supposed to be my divine partner. I was going to partner with her. I wanted control over her purpose in life. Now, again, she's a backslidden Christian, so he sensed that even in a backslidden state, there was an anointing. His demons knew it, knew that she was special, that God's call was upon her life in different kinds of ways. And he wanted that. Well, you can have the soul part of a cult leader, a New Age psychic, even a morally corrupt pastor inside you doing stalking witchcraft for any number of reasons, such as I have already discussed. I want to say something, again, quite controversial, but just hear me out. Pastors fail. They fall. Not all of them are demon-possessed, but some are. That's part of their problem. That's the reason they failed, and they won't own up to it because their theology won't let them admit it. And I've seen situations where a pastor grievously falls. And I could name several people from recent times who fit what I'm about to tell you. So what then happens? Well, people who don't understand spiritual warfare, people who don't understand soul witchcraft stalking, have no idea what they're really dealing with. They think they're just dealing with a basic moral issue. They got to clean it up and by the grace of God move on. But let me tell you, in many situations like this, you can't just appoint new leadership and go forward. You need to do mass deliverance on the congregation and as much individual deliverance as you can on the leadership of the church, because they have been poisoned by this witchcraft of the bad pastor. In fact, it has the potential to infect everybody wherever there is a demonic opening in their lives. Now, this, frankly, could be a topic in itself, and I don't have time to develop it here completely, but I want you to think about that. When a pastor grievously sins in very serious ways, and some have done this recently, it's not just a brief moral failure. It's highly egregious. It's extremely demonic. Something is unleashed on the church leadership, everybody who's involved, whether or not they're complicit, and potentially on many people in the congregation who are vulnerable. It is witchcraft, and a witchcraft curse can come upon them unless this is a church that understands deliverance, believes in it, and in a practical way does something about it. This has been a very serious warning. I want to leave you with a final thought. If you've been part of a soul tie with an ungodly individual, whether he's a pastor, as I've just described, or whether this individual is in the New Age, if you transactionally engage their services with the exchange of money, if you paid for it, if you bought it, you entered into essentially a contractual arrangement. You've made a soul tie with that individual, and that can result in bondage later through spiritual witchcraft stalking. So cut that soul tie now. Anything you have from that individual, anything you bought from them, anything that they gave you, any practices that they engaged in, like chakra cleansing or guided meditation or whatever it may be, break the curse of that. Ask the Holy Spirit to cleanse you of every embedded part of that person in your soul, in your mind, in your emotions. And you probably need to get some deliverance and exorcism, and we are here to help. Go to boblarson.org. You will see the ways that we offer through our Do What Jesus Did teams, our associate ministers, and through me personally. If you are being spiritually stalked with witchcraft, and this message has resonated with you, do something about it now so that you can get free, stay free, and live free.
Your financial support and prayers make it possible for us to bring hope for the hurting and freedom to those in spiritual bondage. For the latest information regarding ministry outreaches, go to boblarson.org or call 303-980-1511.